Fantasy
for Dummies.
Hold up! This is the part where we are going to tell you that there are spoilers, cursing, potentially triggering situations, and spiciness of all levels. Don't say you weren't warned. Alright, carry on. Welcome back to Fantasy for Dummies, episode 5. Nope. 6.
Really? Didn't we just discuss this?
We literally did 2 seconds ago. 2 seconds before I pressed record, actually. So this is a great start. Just for the people at home that's not watching what I'm watching, my sister, in all of her brilliance, has her fingers out counting.
It's our 4th wing we did in 1. Iron Flam. In 2. Oh. Yep, episode 6.
Episode 6, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is Brianna, the younger sister.
This is Eileen, the fairy-loving, almost 40-year-old. I learned how to blow my hair out very recently. I wasn't doing it right.
You weren't doing it at all.
I tried.
Tell the people what you did.
Well, I thought you could...
Mind you, just so you know, we're talking about the Revlon blowout brush.
It's amazing.
But Sissy, tell the people how I gave it to my sister because she's always complaining about her hair and she never knows what to do with it. So I said, "Here, take this. It's really great. It's like a blowout. It's really easy. You don't have to navigate holding a hairdryer and a round brush at the same time, which can be difficult for some people."
It's not the two-handedness. I don't know how to section my hair properly to blow it out. That's the main problem.
Okay.
But when you gave it to me, I asked you, is this for wet hair or for dry hair? And you said it was for both. It's not really for dry hair.
It's like to refresh dry hair. You shouldn't be starting with dry hair.
You didn't say that.
For someone so smart.
I'm not smart about hair.
We found out there's a few things you're not necessarily smart about. Viscount.
Time math.
Viscount. Did you all know that Viscount is spelt with an S?
I knew it the first time, and I phonetically wrote it in my notes. And then when Onyx Storm came out, I panicked because I was like, oh my God, like, there's an S in this word but I knew how to say it because I phonetically wrote it out when I did all my notes. But then in the delirium of waking up at 3 a.m. to read that book 2 days in a row, I second guessed myself because I phonetically wrote it in my notes, knowing how, because I knew how it was said, but I phonetically wrote it Viscount in my notes. And then when I saw Onyx Storm and there was an S and I was deliriously tired, it threw me for an entire loop.
The Google, how do you pronounce the word?
Right. Because I saw the S in there and I was really tired and I was like, oh my God, I did this wrong. I fucked it up, but I didn't fuck it up. I just gaslit myself into thinking I fucked it up. Stressed. I was very, very stressed. I was right.
Some of Eileen's best work.
Oh my God. I was like, when I saw that S in Onyx Storm, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Whatever, it doesn't even matter. It's all over now. Not good at hair. I'm not good at time math. And I'm not good at silent S's. Everything else, I'm brilliant at.
Everything else, she's perfect.
I made my own old fashioned.
Proud of you. I'm proud of you. Of all of the things Rebecca Yarros has been asked through all of these book tours she's been doing since Onyx Storm's been released, what do you think is the funniest thing? Like, I think Viscount would probably pretty funny to her.
When she screams about loving Dane, I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, she screams at those people. She's like, I love him. And I'm like, I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you. He was misunderstood.
Dane's got he's got a good arc. He's got a good character arc. Broccoli's been my favorite. Broccoli has been my favorite question asked because she's been asked it like every time.
I didn't know a lot about her before this, like, because remember, I read the books when they came out. So I didn't see the book tour. I wasn't part of the release.
Agreed.
Like, I didn't know any of it. And I did not know how much I was going to love her. And I feel like if I had seen more about her, I would have framed my mind around the books a little different. I feel like her and I would be friends in real life.
Mm-hmm. She's a weirdo, and I love it. She's just a weird little fantasy writer, and I love her.
She's saucy. She does not care.
Yeah.
She takes no shit. I just really, like, we have to protect her.
Mm-hmm.
We have to protect her. And a major issue that I'm having is that there's a lot of people who don't like this book, which is totally fine.
Right.
I have my problems with the first 2 books. They're fun things to read for entertainment. Like, I don't think anyone's trying to pretend that these are books that are going to, like, alter history or, like, but there's people who have made it their whole personality. You know, when I don't like a book, or I don't like anything, I'll talk shit, I'll joke around about it, but, like, let's get one thing very, very, very clear. If you publish a book that I could go to the store and purchase and read, you've done an amazing thing.
Right.
So the people who are coming out talking about how poorly this book is written, what have you written?
Right.
So yeah, I'll talk all the shit and I'll say all the things and laugh about whatever. Some people, they're being so, like, really mean about it. And I'm like, yo, listen, you've heard what I said about the first 2. Like, I'm talking all the shit. Like, they're hilarious. But, like, to say that, like, she's a bad or this was poorly written, it's like, wait, hold on. Pump the brakes.
Yeah.
It's funny because my boss, as you know, is a film snobbo, okay?
Yep.
He won't watch TV. You know, he's too good for TV. Like, according to him, I think they only watch, like, high-end movies and read books by candlelight in their house. Like, I always give him a hard time. Like, we get it. Like, yeah, we get it. You're too good for all this. And even he said it to me, and I was like, yeah, you're totally right. He's like, I talk all the shit. He's like, but if you make up anything, any piece of media that I can watch, what you've done is amazing.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what this is.
Right.
And there's one girl on Instagram who has made it her whole personality to talk shit about this book. And I'm just like, these are fun books. Like, that's what they are. They're fun. They're about fucking dragons.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you.
And the opinions that people have about, like, it is mind-boggling to me. And there's another girl I follow who's, like, pretty, like, well-known on whatever you call it, book talk, books, you know, she's like, and she was like, the hate that I have gotten, she's like, this is, like, the weirdest fan base. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Her being a successful writer, it's like, well, now we have to tear her down.
But it's even the people who like the first 2 were like, this one is garbage. And I'm like, these books, first of all, in my opinion, this was the best one. It's her dragon world. She can do
Whatever she wants. Yeah.
I like it.
It's her dragon world, and we're just living in it.
We're just pretending we live in it. We're wishing we live in it. This was the best one. But it's because my issues were with Violet.
Right.
1 and 2. This was Violet's time to shine. It was her most sufferable arc.
Mm-hmm.
And Xaden only got better. The side characters only got better.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pacing of the book was odd. It was like, go, 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 stop. Go, go, stop. Like, it was a very oddly paced book, but, like, who cares?
Right.
Who cares? To act as if she wrote War and Peace and then came out with a porno. It's like, what? Like, no, they were all on par with each other. They're the same. They're fucking dragon books.
Yeah.
We're having a good time here.
Yeah.
We're laughing. It's cool. It was actually fun to, like, read it when everyone else was reading it. And, like...
Yeah. The community aspect of it, the, like... Yeah. No, I agree with you.
It's bad enough that you have the critics, like, panning it as smut. That's a whole nother conversation that we've already had. I won't get into again because it's 5%.
But at this rate, like, what we talked about of how much of the book is sex-based.
And I'll say it again. It's the equivalent of watching an R-rated movie with a sex scene in it and calling it a porno.
Right.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
They're smutty books.
Yeah.
And if you
it's
like...
just not these.
But who cares? If you like... Go ahead, read smutty... Like, that's a whole nother conversation. Read whatever the heck makes you happy. reading any book is making you smarter.
Yeah.
It is. But like, so you already have this one facet of like media and like that's putting her down. And now you have the people who are reading, and it's just wild. It is wild. And it's the minority, I think. Like, I think most people like me were like, oh my God, like, didn't put it down and like,
I think most people are really enjoying it, and I think a lot of people also realize it's a third book of a 5-book series.
In the middle, that's
it's gonna be the hardest one because there's no end.
it is the quote unquote filler book of right.
the series.
Right.
So it's just wild. We all walked away loving Riddick more than
already loved him, but you have to love him more for sure.
Like we all knew we were gonna love him, but like this is the book where he shined.
Right.
Which makes me nervous.
Makes
for him.
People nervous.
It makes me nervous for him.
Do you have to put like a spoiler?
We can.
Sissy, what are you reading now?
I'm still reading the book.
Don't talk about this night agent FBI secret.
I'm halfway through. I'll be done with it by tomorrow if I read it all night tonight. And then I started reading The Magicians.
Was that the TV show?
It was a series.
Yes.
It was a series. It wasn't a movie.
What's this about?
It's about a kid. I'm not far into it because it's one of the 3 books I'm reading right now.
Jesus Christ.
It's about this kid who is like a gifted student. The book opens with his 2 friends. They're walking to their like Ivy League alumni interviews, and something happens and he ends up, his papers blow away from him.
Okay.
He walks into this backyard in Brooklyn just to like collect his papers, and as he's walking he's transported to this school and he takes a test, and they don't really tell, like it's very like Cloak and Dagger, like they don't
like
tell
a Hogwarts kind of school.
Yeah, but it's apparently like pretty dark.
Okay.
I haven't got, like, that's what the back of
There's
the book
6
says.
seasons of the show. I mean, the show's been on NBC.
There were
Leave Grossman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm reading the first, so that's one of my first ones. And then I am about 43 or 5 chapters into the 3rd ACOTAR.
You said you're on the last ACOTAR.
Isn't that the 3rd one?
There's 5.
The 3rd one of, because aren't the 4th and 5th one completely separate?
No. The 4th one is a novella.
Right, but it has nothing to do with the main conflict in the first 3. Everyone's told me the first 3 sum up the big conflict.
Yeah, they're okay. So the first 3 could stand alone. Yes.
Right. Sorry. So I'm on the 3rd ACOTAR.
Oh, I thought you were on the 5th. That's why I was confused.
No, I'm on the 3rd one. I think about this as the last one because everyone says the 4th and the 5th one are like standalone books.
I would not consider them standalone. They all roll one right into the next.
But the conflict's different. I'm going to get resolve of the major conflict of Hybern in this 3rd one.
Correct.
Okay. What are you reading?
I finished the 2nd City of Gods and Monsters, which was a struggle. I have a lot to say about those books. I have a lot to say about them. I'm going to read the 3rd one, but I am taking a break. I started reading Nocticadia this morning, and Nocticadia.
Like knocked off your rocker?
No, like Nocticadia. It's a fake word because it's a fantasy book.
It's one word?
Yeah. It's pretty famous. You never heard of it?
No.
I had to put some finishing touches on this.
There you go.
So I couldn't rot all day and read the book I wanted to read. I would have banged that out today.
Sorry we hindered you.
It's okay. I have responsibilities, but I cannot wait. I'm hoping when we record tomorrow, I'll be finished with it, but that's pretty bold because tomorrow is a work day.
That is pretty bold.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't been reading enough. So, we'll see. We'll see. That 2nd City of Gods and Monsters was like, took a lot of time. It was a slow goer.
Was the pacing of the book?
I have a lot to say about them, but I'm going to save that for when we talk about them. I have a lot to say about them. A lot. But I will read the 3rd one. Just not.
Is it a trilogy?
No, I think it's going to be 5, but there's 3 out, and I think the 4th one comes out at some point this calendar year, maybe in May or something like that. I think there's going to be one more. Very interesting series. Very interesting. I have a lot to say, but let's not waste our airtime now. You know what I mean? Talking about a book that we're not discussing, but
Feels right. Feels right.
yeah.
We spent enough time on Onyx Storm at this point.
Right. So that's it.
All
I'm going
right.
to read Nox Acadia, and then I don't know what I'm going to read after that. I have so many things. Lights Out, I think I'm going to read, because I promised my friend Kelly I would read it.
Okay, so we are going into part 2 of A Court of Mist and Fury. Right?
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Correct. We did part 1.
We did part 1. We're going into part 2. Where did we leave off?
Okay, we left off with, I believe, Reese holding back Feyre's hair while she was puking.
Start with, I believe.
Well, I'm going by my own notes, and I listened, but we left off with Reese holding Feyre's hair while she puked, and them having like a little trauma dump for each other, and lamenting all of the horrible things that they were forced to do in Amarantha's version of Under the Mountain.
Yes.
Okay? They were getting ready to go to the super scary prison under the... There's a lot of shit under mountains in this book.
Yeah.
Okay?
We're seeing a trend.
Right.
The Night Court really loves a mountain.
Right. So they're about to go to this insane death prison, which is under a different mountain, not to be confused with Amarantha's Under the Mountain, and not to be confused with Reese's court under the mountain, the Court of Nightmares. This is another prison that is underground, and it is full of, honestly, what sound like the world's scariest creatures. It sounds absolutely terrifying. So Feyre has to go, right? Because the Bone Carver is going to want to see her, and they're going to try to get this information about the book.
Because she's the first made one in centuries.
Right. Because it's her, Amryn, and Miriam, who we don't know anything about Miriam yet at this point, but we keep hearing that Miriam is made as well.
Made?
No, the Bone Carver is basically
A shapeshifter.
ancient. The
Yes.
Bone Carver is so ancient, and
Do we find out what the Bone Carver is in this interaction, or is it the next one?
No, I don't think we find out what the Bone Carver is in this book.
Really?
I don't believe so.
At this point in the game, they're all muddled in my head.
The Bone Carver is like an ancient monster, because this prison is full of ancient monsters.
Yeah.
It's full of, and there's new people. Like Reese has had to sentence people to this prison as well, but it's full of like Amryn is from the beginning. Like no one knows where she came from, because she basically like predates history.
Yeah.
So that's what this prison is. It is like a super scary, like there's no actual guards, like it's like warded, and the
guards like live in the
you
rock.
have to know where the rocks opens. It's crazy. So Feyre is gonna go down there, and her and Reese try to go, and like her PTSD about being under mountains really kicks in, and she can't do it. She can't go in. She pumps the brakes. She has a little bit of a meltdown. Reese is a total gentleman about it, takes her home and is like, babe, just take a nap for like the day. And she's like, okay, no problem. And that's what we do. The thing about Feyre through this entire book, which cracks me up, is like, she takes naps. She reads in the garden. Like, she has all of this downtime to do these leisurely activities. Wouldn't you be having there's about to be a war. Like, everyone's about to die.
Yeah.
And she could take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that she can have any semblance of like relaxing time.
Right. It's like, oh, like I took my book to the garden, and I'm like, Feyre, like everyone's about to die.
Right. You were literally just waiting for it to start. You're in the waiting game.
God bless her, though. God bless her. So she goes home, she takes a full day nap, which is like my actual dream.
Didn't you do that today?
No naps today. 0 naps today. And so she gets up from her nap, she goes to meet Amryn, and Amryn's like, listen, I hear you, you're valid, I hear you, I see you, I understand your problems. I lived down there, and I lived through it, and I got out. Hold on, here's this necklace. Take this necklace, put it on, it will protect you from anything bad happening to you in the prison. And if you don't give it back to me, I'm gonna like skin you alive. She's petrifying.
She's frightening.
Right. So Feyre's like, oh my god, a magic necklace. Great. Pops it on, and her and Reese try for round 2. Now, this necklace is the reason that I perhaps thought that the knife Xaden gave to Violet to protect her from Cat was a placebo.
That is precisely what you thought, and I was literally waiting for you to stop talking so I could bring it up.
Right. So
what we've learned in this moment is that Xaden gave her a real warded knife that protects her from Cat.
I still want to fact check that.
And Amryn is the one that gaslit Feyre into Under the Mountain.
Right. She gave her a fake placebo necklace to go under the mountain, which is really kind of sick if you think about it, but it's fine.
Whatever, it worked.
Right. So they go back to try to get into the prison for round 2, and we're getting more info on the inner circle, like, while they're on this journey. And she's dying to know, this whole book, she's dying to know about Asriel's. She's so nosy.
She is the most yenta.
She's
a yenta in this book.
She's a washwoman.
I don't know what that means.
It's a great word for, like, she's a washwoman. Like, she just wants to talk shit. And, like, yeah. So
she's a gabber.
Right. So she's, like, asking all these questions, and we find out she's obsessed with
Asriel's scars.
Right. Well, Reese tells her he's scarred because his shitty family lit him on fire, right? Like, his brothers lit him on... Like, they used to lock him in a tower, and he could only see his mom for, like, an hour a day, and then his brothers lit him on fire.
Yeah.
This is, like, the band of misfits.
Of all misfits.
Right. So, a misfit isn't even the right word. Just, like, bless them all. Ragtag. Yes, seen it all. Survivor. Best friends. So, it's this invasive question has been plaguing Feyre's mind the whole book, and finally she gets some answers. You think she's going to be less annoying, but she's not. She's a million questions about, like, what everyone's role is in the inner circle. Like, Feyre, who cares? She's a little annoying, but it's totally fine. We make it to the prison. It's just as terrifying as we've imagined, and everyone is there for life, okay? Like I said, some people have been there since the beginning of recorded history. This place is ancient. It's scary as shit. And now they're making their way down through the tunnels, and she remains nosy, and she's asking Reese, well, how long was Amryn here? How did she get out? And he was like, how about you gotta mind your business. Like, I think she was here for thousands of years, but, like, it's uncomfortable to ask these kinds of questions, Feyre. Like,
have some tact.
Have a little tact, okay?
She has none.
Right.
She's never even heard of the word. She can't spell the word. Like, she's got...
Well, she's illiterate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Formerly.
Uh-huh. That was the point. She does not know the word or the meaning of tact.
Right.
In this entire book. It is astounding.
I know. I don't hate
that the mating bond didn't just, like,
I don't hate
snap out of place.
Right. Well, it's not... It's a spoiler. So they make it to the Bone Collector's cell, okay? The thing about the Bone Collector is he appears as something different to everyone. He doesn't have a form. He can look like anything to anyone. You don't know what you're looking at, all right? So they trade him a worm bone for some answers, because he's obviously a bone collector, and they bring him one of the bones from the worm that Feyre killed under the mountain. That's his prize. They have to play this creepy, you tell me a secret, I'll tell you a secret game. And we learn a lot of things here. We learn from the Bone Collector. Bone Carver? No, Bone Collector.
It's the Bone Carver. Bone Collector is a Denzel Washington movie.
It is the Bone Carver.
I'm getting Viscount, Viscount vibes all over again.
Carver. Have I been saying collector the whole... It doesn't matter.
It does, kind of. But
the Bone Carver. Yeah, I said it right in the last episode. Yeah. So anyway, it doesn't matter. We find out a bunch of shit from this creepy thing that, number one, there's a cauldron, right? Which predates the Fae. It predates magic. It basically predates everything. And the world came out of this cauldron.
Yes.
Some bad people got a hold of the cauldron, and then some good people won it back.
Mm-hmm.
And the good people threw it into some mystery frozen lake somewhere that no one knows of, and they split the feet apart and hid them in random temples, which is likely, if you'll remember, why these temples were being attacked, like where all the high priestesses are.
Yes.
And this bone carver is like, if people are looking for the feet, it likely means someone has the cauldron. They're
Base
trying
of
to
it, yeah.
put it back together, right? To reattach everything and be able to use it. And if someone can use this,
Endgame.
actual endgame. He
It's the
also tells
gauntlet.
them that there's a book that's split into 2 parts that could negate the powers of the cauldron.
Yes.
50% of the book is with the Summer Court fairies. 50% of the book is with the human queens or the mortal queens. I have questions about that.
I hate them.
And it can nullify the cauldron, but only something that's made
Can do it.
can read. Only a made being who can read could use it, which is convenient.
There are so many points that have to be checked off.
Isn't it convenient that we have something made that just learned how to read?
She just,
As if maybe that was on purpose.
as if the reading was purposeful.
Right.
Not just because she's a grown-ass woman, but because she's needed for something.
And Feyre's trading him all this information to get this about death and like what she saw, and he's just super intrigued by her entire journey, and he's creepy. He's ultra creepy.
He's really hung up on what it was when she died.
Right. Yes.
He's very hung up on that.
Right. And things get super creepy. They finally leave, and we find out that he appeared to Feyre as like a kid that looks a lot like Rhys.
Yeah.
An 8-year-old boy that has striking resemblance to Rhys-Anne. And to Rhys, he appeared as Jurian.
Yes.
Ick. Okay? So we get back to the house. They debrief like the crew on everything that went on. And Rhys gives Feyre this like bullshit title of emissary to the human lands to kind
It
of
sounds made up.
Yeah,
It's made up.
I think he's just trying to give her a purpose.
That's what I mean. It's not like a spot he needed filled. It was a spot he created to give her purpose.
It's an honorary degree.
It is an honorary degree. It is Kim Kardashian being a lawyer.
Correct. But he's like, since you have this title now, like, by the way, we need to test your power, all right? And we're going to do that by sending you on a suicide mission.
He's like, I have a theory. This man, any theory he has is not just a theory, it's knowledge that he has. It's like, it is.
He's playing chess and everyone else is playing checkers.
He's correct.
Right. So he's like, we're going to send you into this. We're going to break into the Weaver's house. And it's like, what's the Weaver? Well, it's a real scary old broad.
I don't even think he says that. Doesn't he just say, I need you to get something from this cottage in the middle of the woods?
I don't know.
And in my head, I'm like fucking Hansel and Gretel over here. Like,
Right.
what are we doing? What are we doing?
This monster is so ancient that Amarantha didn't fuck with her.
She said Rhys was crazy for this. And mind you, he leads it with, I have a theory we have to test.
Right. Amarantha left this woman alone in her weird cottage in the woods because that's how terrifying she is. And Rhys is like, you, Feyre darling,
You're gonna beat this bitch.
you can totally do it. And I have something super ultra important that's in her house. I just need you
To find it and get
just sneak in there, get in, get out.
She's blind.
I'm telling
How
you,
hard could it
how
be?
hard
She's
could it
a
be?
blind old
an old
woman
blind
in the
lady.
middle of the woods.
Hansel and Gretel. Right.
Everyone won't step fucking 50 feet from her. But
Right.
you know what, Feyre? You've got this.
Amarantha
Because you've proved
conquered-
so successful in everything up until this point thus far. Let me believe in you.
Amarantha let her live, but you can get... And I'm not going to tell you what the item is. You're just going to feel it call to you.
Because that's my theory. My theory is that because you have all of this power from all these lords, you can sense other things that have been, what's the word, imbued
Right.
with their power.
Right.
So we're going to test this. I need this little thing.
Right.
I need this small little inanimate object.
You totally got this, babe. And
I have faith in you, babe.
right. And then she's not even babe yet. So he gets her all
Girl.
hot and bothered, right? He's like sensually putting her on, like,
And what's
strapping-
that about? You're about to send this woman to her death and you're going to get her all hot. Don't you think she needs some focus?
No, well, to be fair, I think what he's doing is trying to distract her. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to distract her so she doesn't realize she's about to die. So not only
Which is fucked.
right, not only is he like super hot, like strapping on her armor between her legs.
She needs armor to go into an old woman's house in the middle of the woods. A blind woman. Someone he paints out to be like, oh, it's just this little something.
But even more fucked is he's like, have you thought about fucking Cassian? Because you should do it. And she thinks she's gonna play chicken. She's like, maybe I will. And he's like,
Cool.
okay, I think that would be a great idea for both of you. And I'm just like, oh man,
I hate everything.
So, he stays hilariously unbothered, and it's absolutely amazing. So here's the problem though, and this is what I realized in this, like listening to this, like in my second go through of this. The problem with everything being from Feyre's POV is that that's what makes her insufferable. Whereas if SJM, our girl, I just wrote this from like a third person situation, it wouldn't feel so annoying, because every time Feyre talks, she's like, I'm a warrior. And it's like, we've actually seen no. So like
we've actually seen this disproved time and time again.
And like, I understand, like when you're in this situation, you have to hype yourself up, but because she takes that third party narration away from us, we are just left with Feyre just hyping herself up for the whole book.
Time
and
again.
it's like,
and she just falls flat every time. She hypes herself up just to push herself back down.
God bless her.
I'll give her that. You know what? I know I'm not a Feyre lover here, but you know what? I'm going to say her confidence in herself is absolutely
don't hate Feyre.
I would kill for an ounce of her confidence in herself.
Yeah, so she breaks...
The painting alone.
Oh, please. We haven't even gotten there. So she breaks into the scary, blind, singing monster's house.
Oh,
which
God.
is like, the house from the outside looks like real cute and charming. It's like a storybook house, right?
Hansel and Gretel.
But when she gets in, it should be on Hoarders Buried Alive.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I'm going to tell you. Based on the graphic audio, this woman singing...
Oh, you were listening to the dramatized of this, right? Yeah.
This woman singing... made my skin want to crawl off my own body.
Was it like raspy and like a little high pitched and breathy?
High-pitched and creepy. It was just, I assume it was intended to be creepy, but it actually made me shudder. It made me actually shudder. And this woman, okay, so this blind woman is weaving, but we don't know what she's weaving. So Feyre's looking around. She's like, this lady's
It's ambiguous to a fault.
Right. So she's looking around. She's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, what she's looking for.
Is there a world in which you think Feyre, what's her last name, Archeron, is quiet enough at all, even in her Fae state, even in becoming a high Fae? Do you think there is an ounce of herself that is quiet?
But she gets caught. So no, there's not an ounce of her that's quiet. But she finds this.
She finds
item
it before she gets caught.
Right. She finds the item that's calling her.
She lasts far too long in this house without getting caught.
It's a tense read. She finds it's a ring. So she finds the item that calls to her, and as she finds the ring, she's not that quiet. She does get caught. So this blind monster just starts losing its shit, and Feyre's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to light the house on fire. She takes a candle.
She tries to get out of the doors, and the door slams shut. She can't get out.
She can't get out. The lady has locked her in the house. This and the lady, like, looks young when she's there. Like, when she sees her at first, she's like, oh, she's young. And then when the woman turns to her, she's like an old lady with, like, no eyes and, like, a void of a mouth. Like, she's creepy as fuck. And Feyre,
but okay.
Feyre tries to light the place. She throws a candle, lights the place up, and she has to... This is really... Nobody talks about this.
She has to
climb out of the chimney. Nobody talks about this part of the book enough, because when she's climbing out of the chimney, she gets covered in fat. She's slick with fat, right? She makes it... It's disgusting. Slimy, grease-covered ass.
She can't get up because she's sliding out
on the fat, and she makes it up out of the chimney. She gets onto the roof, and this is the worst part. The roof is made out of hair. So the hair is sticking to the fat
on her body. ugh.
And we just don't talk about this enough because
There's a reason we don't talk about this enough. There's an absolute reason why this is not spoken about.
This is it's everything. So
Does she?
So the
this
house
is cataclysmically terrifying.
I have bile in my throat.
My
just thinking
hair,
about
the
this.
hair on my body is raised. It makes
Triple vom. She's
vom.
covered
I'm
in
ready to
unidentified hair
vom.
stuck to her greasy, like, fat covered sheen, and she runs out of the house, and Reese is just chilling out in a tree waiting for her. Like, in my head he's in a hammock. I know he's not, but like.
In my head, he's like perched between like an offshoot of a branch, just staring at her,
Just watching her almost die.
And mind you, he's watching her almost die.
In my head, he also has a snack.
Yeah, he's got like a bag of chips, and he's just like eating them piece by piece, so like gingerly.
Right.
Imagine the disaster walking up to this beautiful man.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment alone,
You're covered in singed hair.
You are covered in singed hair and human remains.
Unidentified fat.
It has to.
See, I always say that there's nothing more disgusting and like nothing more gag worthy than unidentified moisture. Like when you're in the subway, right? And
Yes.
just like a drip of water hits you. And you're like,
Ugh.
it can't be worse. But
Or you're walking and there's nothing, because sometimes you get the air conditioner, right? But like when you're walking and there's no out window unit that you can see and something is on your face.
Unidentified liquid on your person is it?
Yeah.
It doesn't get worse, but it does get worse because
this is
fat covering your body.
Is it
worse?
I'm picturing just the disaster walking up to this man.
I am
the disaster he is met with.
Think of your pre-bedtime skincare routine, glazed donut, but it's just unidentified.
Yeah, like when the girls peel off the glass mask,
right?
But she can't peel it off because it's human fat on her body.
So Reese is just chilling out, watching her almost die, eating snacks in a tree, like grapes. Maybe he's like dangling grapes.
Oh, maybe he's laying on a branch.
Yes, Disney cartoon style. Yeah. And spoiler alert, the super secret important item he needed was his mom's ring that she had just given to this woman for safekeeping.
Correct.
The lady didn't steal it. It wasn't an artifact. His mom was like, please keep this safe for me. And Reese is like,
from my own son.
Feyre, my girl, get in there and get this out. It has no importance to the story.
None.
It has, like, you think, we are led to believe that he is going to get this item because it has something to do with stopping the impending war.
Yeah. Yes. And that is the farthest thing.
Categorically false. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The farthest.
Right.
The farthest from it.
So we get back to the house and they're like, Reese, like, his friends are like, you're a dick. That was a dick move.
She walks into the house. Gross. She is in this beautiful home and she just gets winnowed in a greasy,
hairy,
moist, hairy disaster. I picture her hair coated. I picture her looking like a drowned rat.
Right, but with the hair.
But with the hair attached to her.
Right, and his friends are like,
and they're all hot. And they're all dressed hot.
Everyone in this book is hot.
And she gets winnowed. She just gets dropped in front of all these hot people looking that way.
Right, yeah. And his friends are like, that was a real dick move, bro. And he was like, was it?
I tested my quote-unquote theory. And
trying to teach a bitch a lesson. You know what I mean? And he's like, I got this. I'm going to make it up to you. I'm going to run you a hot bath. She's like, okay, cool. Okay, go team. So Feyre decides, like, in this time period that Cassian can teach her how to fight because she realizes she was just almost unalived. She's like, it's probably best that I do learn some self-defense mechanisms here. And
she's so annoying.
So
it took being covered in human fat and hair to realize that you need to work on yourself a bit.
Right. So when he's running her in this bath, she's like asking him a bunch of questions and whatever. And we do get some insight into Reese's head. She goes into his brain in a scene from 100 years ago, so before Amarantha, right? And because she can't figure out why he hates Ianthe. And we get the scene in his brain that Ianthe's essentially a sexual predator.
She's a predator, yeah.
All right? She's overall
under
trash.
the guise of, like,
a priestess, right? So that hits close to home. But, yeah, that's a
little too... Oof.
So she is super rapey, and she comes to he invites her to the court, trying to make some, diplomatic ties, and she gets there, and she is, like, she runs off everyone else from the house. Like, Azrael and Cassian are like, we gotta get out of here. Like, this girl is a problem. And she comes into Reese's bedroom, and she's like,
practically naked.
Yeah, we should make babies, right? Like, that's what she's telling. We should make babies. And Reese is like, pump the brakes, sweetheart. I'm not interested. And she won't give it up.
Yeah.
And she starts to get predatorial. And Reese breaks her arm or her hand, I forget. And it's foreshadowing because you feel bad because clearly he is very protective of his autonomy. And then you know that 50 years after this, he's about to become a sex slave. So Reese, you're just the best. Feyre in this moment realizes that Lucian's
experiencing the same thing
at home, like we're in the spring court, like he was probably experiencing the same thing. So she, like, light bulbs are going on for her. She's realizing, like, everything in the spring court was a lie. He also tells her, Reese also reminds Feyre in this point in time, I just let you see into my mind. Be careful if you're going to break into someone else's mind because you could get trapped there, which is the most terrifying concept. We also, so now we find out, the next day she's talking to Moore, and we find out more about the Court of Nightmares. So if you'll remember, the Court of Nightmares is the court that Reese rules under this mountain. It's an underground court. That's what everyone thinks the entire Night Court is. But it's not. It's a facet of this world, of his
The
realm.
Night Court is split into two courts, like sub-courts, right? It's the Court of Dreams and the Court of Nightmares.
But for the rest of the world, they don't know about the Court of Dreams. Like, everyone thinks that this entire Night Court is the Court of Nightmares, which is, like, essentially like a criminal underworld.
Yeah.
It's a city,
It's like Gotham.
It's actually kind of dope, like, in theory. So Moore's explaining to her...
Of course you think that was dope.
Oh, I just mean, like, whatever. So Moore's explaining to Feyre that life in the Court of Nightmares sucks for women, which is the theme of this whole book. Life sucks for women in a lot of places in this fictional world. And Feyre is Moore's telling her they essentially sell off, like, women's virginities, and Moore was so powerful that she was, like, highly coveted, but we don't get the whole story. Feyre is getting super duper nosy, though, about Moore's relationship with Cassian and Azrael.
Yes.
Which I do understand because it is odd, but she becomes, like, a little fixated on it, and it's like, girl, you're new here. Like, these people have been friends for actual centuries. All right? So we're waiting to... Remember, we're all waiting in this time period. They're waiting for the summer court. They had sent correspondents to the summer court to come for a visit because they want to go and look for the book that the bone carver told them about. No one has answered. So instead of going there, they're like, let's head off to the mortal lands. We're going to see your family. Reese's like, we're going to go visit your family and kind of see what's up over there. You're the emissary there now. Might as well.
Again, shocker. The made-up role he made for her is useful.
Right. So Feyre's a little nervous because obviously there's all this tension between humans, and her family doesn't know she's Fae yet. So
the last Nesta saw her, she was traipsing back to the wall to get back to Tam Tam.
Right. Shit has changed. So Feyre gets home
wildly quickly,
and everyone else kind of makes the invisibles themselves, and she shizzles themselves. So
invisibles themselves.
She gets home to this new, like, mansion that they have, and she has to explain to her idiot sisters that she died, actually, but don't worry about it, I'm high fae now. She spills the beans to these bitches about everything, all right? And she asks them, the reason that we're coming to this, that we came here, is to ask them for help to host a meeting with the mortal queens at their house. She wants to basically have like a middle ground for Faye to meet with the Mortal Queens, and Nesta is real cunty about it. But Elaine, in like the least annoying moment she has in this entire series, steps in, has a backbone, is like, Nesta, I think we should
do this.
Let her do it. Like,
Yeah.
This seems kind of important. We also find out here that Elaine is engaged to a Faye-hating lord that Nesta is not impressed by, which isn't shocking because Nesta's not impressed by anything. His
Right.
name is Grayson. His dad's a dickhead, and his dad, like, really hates fairies.
Like, has made it his life mission to get rid of them.
He is what I picture to be like a militia bunker
Person.
Yes. But against fairies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is awkward because their sister's a fairy now, but we're kind of glossing over that. So they send all of the servants away, and now everyone else shows themselves. It's Reese, Cassian, and Azriel. They didn't bring anyone else. And we have
Only
a
for the best.
real tense dinner, right? Nesta's extra Nesta-y. Reese steps in though and tells Nesta all about herself. Okay?
Right.
Your sister was the baby and you let her go out and hunt while you useless pieces of shit did nothing. Like Reese.
Someone needed to say it.
And he does. And it's a real swoon moment for all of us. We're always swooning Reese, but like
Extra.
right. He tries to be polite, but fuck that. And they agree eventually to host the meeting. Cassian and Nesta, though, are instant rivals, but with a touch of chemistry.
We love it.
They wind up sleeping over. They have a little sleepover because they don't want to, they're like, you can stay here if you want. And they're like looking at each other like, would it be rude to go back? So they all sleep over. Reese and Feyre bunk it up because they're afraid that their magic can't protect the house and like the bedrooms don't connect. So Reese and Feyre wind up having a little sleepover of their own. She takes this opportunity not to jump his bones, but to pry more information about him, like from him about his friends. And she's dying to know about the Moore and Azriel situation, and he's not having it. He's like, you're a gossip. And she has the audacity to act offended that he implies she's nosy.
So Feyre.
So Feyre. Ultra Feyre. He also had packed her some, like, lacy pajamas, and I just, like, at this point, none of us readers understand, like, why she isn't sitting on his dick.
Correct.
But she's not. So, anyway, the next day, they go out, and he's gonna train her, right? So they go out into the woods, in the middle of the woods, like, in the human land still, and the adder comes, which is the monster from the first book. It's a real creepy thing. Like, how would you describe it? I'm picturing like a scary bat, but like a big scary bat. I don't know why.
A scavenger.
Mm-hmm.
Like a scavenger bird. That's what I'm picturing, like a tight-skinned, like
gray,
you
black.
see, see the he has a beak. I don't know why in my head.
So her and Reese separate because she's like, I can't do this with you looking at me. So they separate in the woods. This thing, but then this is when he starts with the notes. They start passing the flirty notes back. So, which they have a bond. They have tattoos. They can talk to each other, but that's all right. So they start with the flirty notes, and as she's distracted with his flirty note, this thing comes and freaking gets her. And just in time, Reese comes to bail her out. He uses his shadows to fuck this thing up, and he has it by the neck, and the adder tells them, listen, we have a mega army. You guys don't really stand a chance. Like, you're fucked. And Reese is unimpressed. Azriel shows up as well and takes this thing away. Like, they're gonna torture him. They're gonna torture him. They're pretty upfront about it.
They don't hide it.
They don't hide it.
at all.
Azriel comes and like it's like she's like, are you gonna kill it? And they're like, what we're gonna do is actually worse than that. Feyre in this moment though realizes that this was not an accident, and Reese used her as bait. He left her out there as human bait. I mean, Reese just keeps getting better and better.
Reese is the epitome of give no fucks.
And as they whisk this thing away to torture it, she gets whiny about it, but then she has like a rage moment and it actually gives her some power, right? Like her rage feels some power and they fight. Her and Reese like kind of spar it out in the woods, get out a little aggression, maybe sexual tension, we don't really know, but they throw down. Reese shows, so now they get back and he was like, listen, do you want to see? Like, I'm willing to be honest. Do you want to see what we did to this creature? You want to know? Or do you want to live in ignorant bliss? And she's like, no, I want to see everything. So they show her how they kind of fuck this adder up. And the creature doesn't know how the King of Hybern knew where they were, but he does. So that's what we're trying to figure out. This adder also reveals to them that Tammy Tam has absolutely gone nutso and lost his shit at home. Okay? This man has gone into full paranoia, tinfoil hat. He's locked down the whole spring court. Feyre darling, is like, don't worry, guys. I got this. I'm going to fix it all. I'm going to write him a letter. And I'm going to tell him I left all by myself. I wasn't kidnapped. Okay? I don't want to come back. I'm in this court. I'm in this night court of my own free will. Okay, thanks, bye. Now,
what do you picture?
Crayons. I picture crayons.
I picture crayons, and I picture that really specific paper that we got in kindergarten when we first started writing that had the, like, 3 lines. So that way all of your letters would be uniform and, like, you learned form.
Yes, everything was the same size.
Uh-huh.
But we shouldn't really...
To be clear, the letters aren't on her paper. The letters aren't in the lines.
Some of them are backwards. Yeah. So the problem here is that the fact that Tamlin doesn't buy this letter, it's not really his fault because he sent away an illiterate woman, and now of all the forms of communication that you could get, people can winnow. You know what I mean? You choose to write him a letter. When you left, you couldn't write. So you'll have to excuse Tamlin in this one instance of maybe not thinking that this was perhaps genuine.
I'm going to say right here, right now, I just had a revelation. I think I might like Tam Tam more than I like Feyre.
Tam Tam needs a redemption arc, and I'm praying for book 6. I am praying. So Feyre goes and she brings the because she's petrified of her. She brings Amren's necklace back, and I was right all along. Amren was like, "By the way, this necklace does nothing. I found it in the bottom of my drawer." And the reason Reese was looking at you extra special wearing it is because he bought it for me because he buys me lots of jewelry, and he was probably thinking like, "Why the fuck did you give this to her?" And I was like, I knew it. And now I'm gonna think that every item,
every gift given to an unworthy character,
I'm gonna think it's a placebo for the rest of my reading career. So, in a favorite part of mine, because now, right, Reese and Feyre, they're in Flirtation Nation. Okay,
yeah.
it's they are.
She's got a real specific falling in love arc.
And they're
of her characters.
They're writing secret notes back to each other. They are, and I mean, Reese is just a flirt. Like, you would probably flirt with anyone, but like, they're taking it to the next level. And Reese, like, saucily asked Feyre, like, how about you let this High Lord take you out for a night on the town? And in the cringiest moment of this book, she thinks they're going on a date, but it's really a group thing.
It's so funny because we've all had it happen.
She thinks that this is going to be a super romantic date. And it's a group outing. So they roll up to this dinner, and the dinner is the entire inner circle, and we learn a lot at this dinner, right? We learn that, we learn that Reese is better than Tam Tam in a million ways, right? They don't have a tithe there. This is where we realize that Amren drinks blood. She can't eat food. No one is scared of Reese. So they're in a restaurant, right? And Reese is chatting it up with the owner. Like, this woman is like, well, since there's war coming, do you think we'll be able to get spices? And he's like, don't worry, like, we'll figure it out. She's like, but we just got this food back. Like, and it's like, the people in this court know what's going on. And they're having an open dialogue with this High Lord. Like, they don't care that he's the High Lord. They respect him, but they're having this open dialogue. And Feyre is, like, coming in her pants over how good this food is. And I am going to say something to you right now. I feel as though this is perhaps the first time Feyre has had food that wasn't prepared by white people.
Again, we've all had that moment. We have all had that moment.
This is the first time she's had food that was, like, seasoned with more than salt and pepper, and she does not know what to do with herself.
Let's come on, like, more respect. Salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder.
I'm just saying. Okay. This is the first non-white person that's ever cooked for her, and she is having a religious experience over this food. As most
people do. This is the most genuine reaction to a situation I've ever read.
But this is a niche comment, and I'm gonna say it right here. This woman is, like, talking passionately. The cook, the owner, whatever, the proprietor and the cook of this restaurant, the chef, she is talking passionately about this food. And Feyre has this moment where she's like, she was speaking with the passion. I'm paraphrasing here. She was speaking with the passion that someone who only has had a hard day at work can fulfill. And it reminded me of my days painting. And I'm like, Feyre, girl. Are you using your painting by numbers?
Your finger painting?
Your finger painting by numbers with this woman who runs a kitchen, which is arguably the hardest industry to thrive in the world. Like, I just want to be clear that you are comparing your recreational
hobby
finger painting with this woman's successful career. And that
confidence. And that's what I want a part of. I want just a little slice. It's the only thing I want from Feyre. Just a little slice of that self-confidence.
A little slice of confidence. Just 10%. Just 10%.
Not even
1%.
2.
So dinner finishes or whatever, and everyone's going to go out to go dancing. Moore wants to go dancing. Azriel's getting dragged along.
Do you think Feyre was thinking, I hope there's a fiddle there?
No, what I'm thinking is that what we learn here, which shouldn't be a surprise to any of us, is Feyre can't fucking hang. She doesn't want to go dancing. She wants to go home. She's like, wait, we ate. It's past 8 p.m. And I'm like, this comes as a surprise to none of us that you can't fucking hang to go to hit the bars.
We all have one person in our life that just can't hang.
Sure.
I'm currently it for my friends.
So, Rhys walks her home. And this is where
he's perfect.
Shit starts to get real here. But instead of enjoying the romantic walk home, she starts pestering him with questions, and she thinks he's fucking Amryn.
Yes. Yes.
And he is laughy about that, and he's like, I tried once when I was a young buck, and she laughed me out of town. But no, just to be clear.
Took a real blow to the ego.
Right, just to be clear. And then he goes off about why he's single, and it's just, like, he's misunderstood, and he thinks that, like, no one will want to be with him because it's a hard life, and, like, people are always trying to kill him. And I'm like,
fair enough.
I feel you, but you're hot, so, like, you could totally, there's people who would overlook that. And as they're walking, she starts to hear, there's, like, a band playing outside a bar, and she hears this music, and she's like, hold the phone. This is the music I heard under the mountain. And he was like, yeah, I sent that to you. I sent that music to you. And she's like, why? He's like, because you were about to die, bitch. Like, I saved your life with this music. Like, what part of this don't you get? I've been looking out for you.
Since day one.
Since day zero. And then she was like, you know what? Come to think of it, I actually saw this city. And he was like, well, that wasn't me. So, like, I don't know. I don't know. And from this point on, this is when they become flirty pen pals, okay? They become super flirty pen pals. There's a magic pen. There's a magic pad that they go right back and forth. And, like, we're off to the races here. So, Feyre starts, now they get back. Feyre starts to finally train fighting, like, with the crew, right? She's thinking about how Tamlin was a total pussy under the mountain and left her to die without doing a goddamn thing. And she gets real ragey, right? So when they're in the training ring, she gets ragey. She unleashes some crazy power. And then she immediately has, like, a mental breakdown about killing the Fae. Like, she goes through a roller coaster of emotions in this sparring ring, essentially.
Oh, and, yeah, because that never... hasn't gotten addressed yet.
Well,
Like, she's holding on. That's like the thing she keeps reverting
she's
back
a piece
to.
of shit about. Yeah. Which, like, it's valid. I mean, I don't think she's a piece of shit, but like anyone would have that's valid trauma. So Reese is like, listen, I have nightmares too. Okay, they have another heart to heart. It's very cathartic. Feyre's feeling good, and after this, they keep having all these moments. All right, so finally, after that happens, we get the green light to go to the summer court. The crew that's going to the summer court: Reese, Amryn, and Feyre. Cassian wants to go, but he was a dick before, so he's like not allowed in.
It was one building.
Right. They've caused some
That's how I
destruction
hear
there.
it.
Right. He's such a bro in my head. In my head, Cassian's the surfer.
It was one building, bro.
Right. So
backwards fitted. I mean, snapback.
100%. So we roll up. They roll up to the summer court, and we get to meet Torquemine.
I love him.
I love him too, which is why this entire trip is it's a tragedy to me. This entire trip is such a tragedy to me because everything that could go wrong goes wrong in a sense, but like he could have been part of the crew.
He could have been part of
the crew. He could have been part of the freaking crew, right? So we roll in, and immediately, like, when they show up, Reese starts to absolutely objectify Feyre. It's part of the bit, right? But she plays into it because here's the thing about Feyre. She likes it. She's into it.
She is into it, Reese. Yeah.
She's into it. So we meet Tarquin. So Tarquin is the High Lord of the Summer Court. We meet his little inner circle, which is Varian, which is like a warrior, and Varian's sister...
Cressida
is the princess, but like she's not like it's not his sister. It's not Tarquin's sister. It's just how their lines work up. So Cressida is immediately real catty with Feyre, asking about Tamlin, and basically wants to make sure that they're not about to go to war over Feyre rolling up with Reese and leaving Tamlin.
Right.
She's like, we have laws here, and you're technically legally Tamlin's property. So what's going on? And shit gets real tense at dinner, and Reese puts a
kibosh on it.
Super kibosh on it. And he was like, is anyone going to call Tamlin? Stand up if you are. And no one stands up. So the dinner kind of calms itself down. No one's going to call Tammy. And we break, right? So we all have our own rooms and suites. And Reese kind of comes to Feyre, and he's like, if there's a way, because they're there to steal the book. That's where we're on this mission. We're going to steal this book that they have somewhere. And Reese is like, if there's any way that you could do this without getting caught, because I actually really kind of like this guy.
Right.
And Reese doesn't really like anyone. He was like, but I would like to be friends with Tarquin. And Feyre's like, okay, but like, real quick question. If I have to bone him to get the book, like, what do you think? And bless Reese, because he just is like, you gotta do what you gotta do, bitch. And she's so trying
to be cool.
Trying to bait him.
She's trying to
bait him. And he was like, you have free will. Like, and I mean, obviously he means no. We all know he doesn't want her to do it, but like, right. He's like, you have your own free will. Do what you gotta do. And this entire trip is just... Feyre basically flirts her way into getting a treasure tour from Tarquin, right? And Sai, because we fucking love this guy.
We love Tarquin.
We just love him. And he's young. He kind of got thrown into this position due to Amarantha, who killed the actual High Lord because he was trying to get out. And he's progressive. He thinks that lesser Fae and high Fae and people should all have the same rights. Like, he is just, he's just the absolute best. And our girl Feyre is like, I think you would be really easy to fall in love with. And I'm like, why would you throw that out there? I mean, I'm a little in love with him, so I totally get it. Like, you're not wrong.
He's not even real, and he has won our hearts.
Right. And he's just the best. And he is smitten with Feyre, but he's also, he knows something's up. Like, he's trying to, figure out what the relationship is, but it doesn't really matter because Reese is real on top of Cressida's shit. They are
all over each other.
I mean, this girl is sitting in his lap, holding his hand, and our girl, Feyre, she's not handling it well.
She is not handling it well.
She's not playing it cool. She's losing her shit. And
she again reverts to like middle school of like storming out, but as you storm out, turn around to make awkward eye contact with the person so they know you're storming out.
Right. She's showing him. And it's just this trip. And we have a couple instances. The actual linear order of it, I don't know. But like her and Rhys have these moments. And Rhys is like, listen, I heard you tell Tarquin it would be easy to love him. And she's like, are you jealous? And he's like, I'm not jealous. It's just that, like, it wouldn't be easy for anyone to love me. And we're like, oh, Rhys, we all love you.
Right.
We actually all love you. Like, it doesn't really matter. And Tarquin, since he is not in this position of danger, he's like, I get why you would love him, and that's what pisses me off. I get, like, and he's just, like, jealous, but he also, like, wants to have a bromance with him. So it's just, there's just so much going on.
It's like an 80s
so
movie.
much going. Yes. And he flirts with Cressida, then he disappears for a couple days, which really throws, or just the night, throws Feyre into a tailspin because she thinks that they were getting it on. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert. They were not. He tells her the next night, like, are you kidding me? Like, you're not getting this. Like, you're not seeing what's going on here. And she's not. She's absolutely not. And in one of these conversations that we have in the bedrooms is where we get the quote, which is like the famous ACOTAR quote, to the stars who listen and the dreams who answer quote. Like, this is the exchange. Yes, this is the moment. And it sucks too because Feyre feels really bad because she knows they're there to betray this guy.
Yeah.
Rhys does too, and they're going to try to do it without getting caught, but, like, it still feels really shitty. This guy is so nice to her.
Yeah.
He gives her, like, some fancy jewelry
necklace,
from the treasure trove or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, listen, like, this isn't, like, you saved our lives. And, spoiler alert, Tarquin has a freaking major man crush on Rhys too.
Yeah.
Because Rhys saved him. When the actual High Lord, who was, I think, his cousin, when he tries to sneak out and Amarantha wants him killed, she doesn't want him killed. She wants this guy to be like a mind slave, and Rhys gives him, like, a swift death and blocks everyone. Like, he knew what was going on. He saves all of them. So there's all of this, like, heterosexual male love for each other going on, and it's just, like, the whole time you're tense because, like, there's no way this is going to go
right. They're never going to salvage this.
And they're all pretending. They're all, like, pretending to be friends, but they really want to be friends, and then they're about to fuck each other over, and it's just, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. So they finally figure, after they're there for days, right? Just getting tours, hanging out, like, everyone's, Amren is definitely in a little bit of a situationship with
Varian
for sure. So everyone's got their own shit going on, and Feyre sees that there's a building, essentially like a cottage, that you can only see when the tide comes in. It's like on a sandbar, is what I'm envisioning in my head, in the ocean. And she starts to ask about it. When she starts to ask about it, she feels that this, like, book is in there. When she starts to ask about it, they get really tense. So when they start to get tense, she realizes, like,
is there.
It's definitely in there. And this bitch breaks into his mind. She breaks into Tarquin's mind.
And like, settles his worries because he starts thinking, like, oh, why are they asking about this? Like, he starts second-guessing everything. She
manipulates the shit out of his brain, and it's like, oh, man, like, this wasn't bad enough already. They had to betray him. Now you're, like,
actively doing this, yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely so horrible. And Rhys is like, listen, as long as you feel horrible about it, then you're on the right side of this. Because there's certain people who would do this and, like, not feel bad. And also, that was super hot and impressive that you're that good at this fast. So they form a little plan, and they're essentially going to Irish goodbye. They're going to break into this cottage, and then they're going to dip out. So, full disclosure, I don't fully understand what happens here, okay?
Are we shocked?
Yeah, my brain doesn't understand scenes like this. So, her and Amren go out into the sea cottage. Rhys is supposed to be flying overhead, making sure everything's fine. They get in there, and they're looking around for the book, and she's getting, like, called down. Now, I think they go into a basement.
Yeah.
They go into a basement of the sea cottage, and the book is, like, calling to her. And every time the book calls, there's like wards in there. So she essentially has to like take on Tarquin's persona. Because remember, she has a little bit of his power. She's a little bit of everyone's power. So she fools all of the, I'm calling them wards.
Yeah.
But yeah. And she's like, I'm Tarquin. And they all buy it. And then she gets to the final stage where this book is. And she's like, hey, it's me, Tarquin. And the book is like, you're a fucking liar.
Yeah. Calls her out right away.
And then essentially floods like locks the door and floods the room.
Yeah.
So they're drowning.
Terrible way to go.
Yeah. Her and Amryn are drowning. And they're about to die. Like, this is real. Like, they are about to die. And Amryn is like fighting her way out. Has to, like, we see like a little bit of her strength of like how much power she actually has to open this door. And they're fighting for their lives. And it's the 11th hour. And she has the book. But they're dying. They're not going to make it. And where's Rhys? We don't know. We think that Rhys is going to swoop in and save her. Rhys does not swoop in and save her. Who swoops in and saves her?
The sea wraith.
The water wraiths. Yes. So these water wraiths, these little sea monsters, come and get them out at like when they're seconds from doom.
Yeah.
And Amryn's like, what the hell? And they were like, our sister said,
we're square.
FYI, we're square now. We're totally even. And they claw their way out. They get out to like shore essentially with the book. And Rhys is like, what the hell happened here? And Amryn's like, well, where have you been? He's like, well, I'm trying to stave off the guards here in the air. And we realize in that moment that he thinks he did it, but he didn't. They did not get away with this scot-free.
No.
People know what happened. Everyone knows. The bromance is over.
Dead in the water.
The bromance is dead in the water. And he's like, everyone feels like shit about it. He grabs them. He winnows them home. And we're back in the townhouse. We open up the book, and what we find out real quick is that the book is like ancient. It's Amryn ancient. It's in an Amryn ancient language. She's the only one who might be able to decipher this. But it also might finally be able to like set her free from this body that she's trapped in, because it's not what she is. She wants to go home. So he's like, I don't want to get, Rhys like, I don't want to get your hopes up, but like, kind of thought, this is why I brought you with us. Can you take this home and try to, so she takes it home and starts to try to translate it. What we also find out here is, and this is, I didn't understand this either. What they discuss also in this time is, why in God's name would Jorian be helping Hybern? Because they threw it in there at the beginning that he was going to help her, but help him, but it doesn't make sense because Jorian was a human sympathizer. He's a human being,
right? And
Hybern's the devil. So like, it doesn't. This alliance makes no sense for anyone. So they gloss over it really quick. Rhys is like, we can talk about this at another time, but I think it's because Jorian thinks Hybern could raise Miriam. We don't know shit about Miriam yet,
right?
From the dead. So there's all these things of like, what are we even talking about right now? So everyone goes to bed. Feyre wakes up the next day. It's a beautiful day out. And she's like, I'm just going to go take my book and read in the garden. I'm like, how do you just go take your book and read in the garden after what happened to you yesterday?
Right.
And she runs into Rhys because Rhys is in the garden or on the roof or wherever the fuck he is. But it's just whatever. So she finds him and he is real emo. He's having a real bad day.
Mm-hmm.
He's day drinking.
He's drunk.
He says he's not. He says he's drinking. He says he's not drunk. She says there's no difference. But he is having an emo day, and he is out there. We've all had him. Absolutely, and he's upset because he really wanted that bromance with Tarquin.
Yeah,
and he's taking it hard. And on top of the fact that he's not going to have the bromance with Tarquin, Tarquin actually sent over the equivalent of like.
A wanted poster?
No, I'm going to call it the, what do they call it in the Mafia when they give you the kiss? Kiss of death. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, from The Godfather, when he kisses him, like, you know you're going to die. Yeah.
Oh,
so
I didn't
it's,
know
well,
that.
they have a price on them. So the Summer Court sends over 3 blood rubies, and it means like 1, 2, 3, Rhys, Amryn, Feyre, you're marked for death. If you come back here again, we're going to execute you. Like, it's a hit. They put a hit out on them, which... I mean, it's pretty reasonable, all things considered. But Feyre cannot handle seeing Rhys upset. And she's like, I am gonna... She starts to try to flirt with him, which he's usually into, and he's not having it. He literally says to her, I'm not in the mood.
Yes.
And, he also says to her, you get to be a fucking pain in the ass all the time, and I'm having one bad day. I'm not allowed.
Thank God.
Uh-huh.
Again, thank God someone said it.
Right. And Feyre doesn't stop, though. Bless her. She keeps going. She's got sultry jokes. She's talking to him about buying lingerie, and he calls her bluff. He's like, how about I take you right now? And she doesn't. She's a little flustered. But this all comes to an end because Azriel shows up, and she's like, oof, sidestep that landmine. And this is, like, the best part. As she walks away, she starts, like, fantasizing in her brain about what that lingerie buying trip was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
And, Reese had actually told her, how about I take you to go buy lingerie for you to wear for Tarquin? So maybe you could buy this hit off our head. And, like, he's just like a savage. And, like,
yeah.
Oh, his confidence is sick. So as she's, like, having this lingerie fantasy, right, about him taking her to the store and basically he's going to bang her in the lingerie store. Like, she's, yeah. This bitch walks into a pole. She is so tied up in her head. She is so tied up in her head fantasizing about trying on red lace panties for Reese. She flat out walks into a pole, which jars her from her daydream. But the sick part too is Reese is laughing through their bond
because it was him doing it.
He planted it right in her brain. Now, what I struggle with is why they have to keep writing these secret love notes back and forth to each other on a disappearing piece of pen and paper when they have a bond in which they could talk to each other all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
I struggle with that. So he gets the last laugh because she bangs into a pole, and that's the end of that. So it's nighttime, Feyre's asleep, and she wakes up to, like, something absolutely crazy going on in the house. Shit is dark, it's rattling, like, she doesn't know what's going on. She gets up out of bed, and it's Reese having his own nightmare. But it's not like a regular nightmare. I mean, shit is like, there's no lights left. Like, it is absolutely crazy. The house is rattling. She cannot wake him up. She's trying to get him up. Then she starts singing to him, and I'm going to tell you, this graphic audio has ruined my life. She's like lullabying him, and I'm like, Feyre, darling, please stop. And it's just like,
you're embarrassing us all.
I have secondhand embarrassment so bad. And she finally gets him up and whatever. And I guess we find out that he has these nightmares all the time as well, which is why he doesn't, like, he sleeps in the townhouse by himself. And she's been too selfish to notice, but that's totally fine. And he's like half in he has that animal form that he doesn't want anyone to see. So he's like talons coming out of his hand and feet. I mean, like, he is great. He chokes her. Like, he starts choking her. She definitely likes it as well, but that's neither here nor there. And we have another heart to heart here, right? Like, we just have another cathartic, you have nightmares, I have nightmares, like, yada, yada, yada.
2 peas in a pod.
2 peas in a pod. And she gives him a little kiss on the cheek, and he's naked. Okay? This man is... He's fully fucking naked. And all our girl, Feyre, wants to know about his naked body is why he has knee tattoos. She's breaking my heart as a woman.
God, she's so dumb.
She's intrigued by his knee tattoos. And it's like, Faye.
That's what we care about. This 6
baby
foot
girl.
8
Baby girl. This man's
perfection.
right. And, like, the next day, she asked him
what was his
stupid note about what his knee tattoos are. And he's like, my knee tattoos are, like, I don't get on my knees for anyone. And I'm like, okay. Did you see his wiener, though? Or...
Not wiener.
This bitch is just not my nerves. She's not my nerves.
Finally.
So, after she doesn't look at his dick and she only looks at his knees, the next day she wakes up and she goes to check on Amryn to see, like, how the book is progressing, and she tries to buy her way in with some blood. She brings her, some fresh blood.
Yeah.
The whole thing. And, like, Varian has sent Amryn like some jewelry as like, oh, sorry, we have a hit out on you, but here's a necklace. And I'm like, that is a baller move, Varian. Like, that is an absolutely baller fucking move.
Correct.
So we get back to the house, and Azriel's brooding this whole time because he cannot figure out how to spy on the human queens.
Yeah, they bested him, and he does not like it.
I don't understand how, but like he doesn't either, and he's real fucking salty about it. And all Feyre cares about is if like Cassian, Azriel, and Moore is a throuple. Like that's all she gives a shit about. Like she
cares about.
She
doesn't care about anything else.
It's about to be a war, and she just wants to know like who's fucking who in that 3-person trio. She can't get enough of it. She just whatever. So she keeps training. She's fighting. She's learning how to fight. She's learning how to use her powers. She's learning about all the other High Lords. Like they're giving her a history lesson so she can understand about like all the powers she has, where they come from. Like who gives a shit? So Rhys keeps leaving because he has like a full-time job, you know, and every time he leaves, she realizes she misses him. But they keep it up with the flirty notes, and they're fun. I'll give it to you, they're fun. And then she like in one of these notes, she just starts droning on about the fucking painting, right? And about she wants to paint again. And I get it that they're trying to get to know each other, but like we can't hear any more about the painting. And we can't. If he still loves her through the painting, like there's something wrong with him too. I'm gonna say it.
That's his red flag.
That's it. So they're trying to get to know each other more. I at this point am confident to say that they're in a full blown what we would call in this day and age a situationship.
100%.
Okay. Full blown
unhealthily attached to each other.
Right. So the human or the mortal, they're mortal queens, because I have a lot of questions about them too. They agree, like, we're going to meet up at Feyre's family's house, and they set this meeting. Everyone's excited because we've been waiting for this for, like, thousands of pages now. So they roll up to the house, and only 5 of 6 of them show up. They say that one is sick, which is a little suspect for a million reasons. And they have powers, though. So, like, they're mortal, but they have powers. They can winnow. They can do things.
They have certain powers that were given to them.
Yes. And they're all different ages and vibes and fucking attitudes. Like, it's a wide variety of women in this room. And Feyre thinks, like, we're going to impart this wisdom to you. Guess what, guys? Sit down. Are you all sitting down? There's a war coming. And the human queens or the mortal queens are like, oh, we know. We literally don't care.
Right.
Right. So the rest of our humans, like on the whole rest, like in the world, are probably be safe. And like, we're willing to sacrifice the ones that are next to this wall because it's for the greater good. Like it doesn't really seem worth our time. And the good guy side, they're absolutely appalled. And the human queens are like, well, this is actually your mess as Fae, so you could clean it up. Protect them. Do what you want. And they're like, okay, but how about the book? Can we have the book? And they're like, absolutely
Most certainly not.
No. Is this why you called us here? Because, yeah, we're not having the book. We're not giving you the book.
I wish we would have known that sooner. We would have saved ourselves some time.
Right. And Feyre has some impassioned attempts, and they're just rolling their eyes. They don't give a shit. And they think Rhys is a monster. Because, remember, the whole world thinks Rhys is a monster. Aside from
truthfully, yeah,
5 people in this book. So, Moore's like, hold my beer. I fought with you guys during the war. I fought with your friends. I fought with Miriam. I think this is actually the first time that we realized that, like, she's a truth teller. Or she's supposed to be. I have a lot
More is short for Morgan.
I have a lot of feelings and theories about Morgan. But in this moment, she was like, listen, I was a badass. I fought with Miriam. I fought with Draken. We don't know who that is yet. And by the way, they're still alive. And Rhys is like elbowing her, like nudging her. Shut up. And Rhys is like, listen, like, what do I have to do? And they're like, well, if you could prove to us that you're a good person, you're not a monster, we might be able to make something happen here. And he realizes that he's going to have to prove some shit to these cunts. And he's like, all right, don't call us. We'll call you. And we'll figure it all out. People are not happy. No one's happy with the way this meeting went. So they all head home. And Feyre's like, who's Miriam? So just to, like, a real quick synopsis of who Miriam is. Miriam was a half fae, half person who was born into, like, a real shitty kingdom, which apparently made Amarantha's kingdom look like fun. And humans there had no rights. And even though she was half fae, her mom got raped, and which is how she was born.
Yeah.
And So she's born a slave. She's born a slave, and the ruler, the female ruler of this kingdom, who was a real savage, she gives Miriam as a present to her fiance, and is like, here's a slave for you. And the fiance is like, whoa, this is weird. Like, I'm not about this life. And he's like, run away, and lets her escape. So Miriam escapes, meets Jurian, because now it's wartime. She's a healer, so she meets Jurian. They get together. They're a little couple, and for years she's like fighting with Jurian out in the war. They're a couple. They're a badass war couple, and until one day she's like healing someone on the battlefield, and she realizes that it's Draken, and he was like, I got the F out of Dodge because that lady was crazy, and you inspired me to come fight for the humans. And they realize that they're in love, so she dips on Jurian.
Yeah, she like Irish goodbyes him.
She Irish goodbyes Jurian, and her and Draken are in love. And I don't think Jurian realizes until Amarantha kills him, like, what actually happened. Amarantha's like, actually, she ditched your ass for a fae. And everyone thinks that they died. Everyone thinks that Draken and Miriam died protecting their people after the war. Spoiler alert, they didn't die. They're alive. They took their people, and they're living in bliss on an island somewhere.
Ignorant bliss
on an island somewhere, living their best lives. And Feyre is like, well, why don't we tell the human queens about them, right? And that'll be the proof that they need. And Rhys is like, are you really that dense? Because that has nothing to... They want to know if I'm a dickhead. That has nothing to do with me.
Right.
Also, these people have been through it. I'm not bringing them into our shit. And he, real casually, is like, we have to show them Valeris. And everyone is about to lose their minds. Like, wait, what? Have to show them Valeris? Like, these bitches? We're not showing them shit. And he's like, it's the only way. More. Get everyone ready, because I need a... He tells Moore we have to go under to the Hewn City, which is the Court of Nightmares under the mountain. He's like, tell your dad we're coming. Your family has a little orb, right? In which I can show them this. I can imbue...
It's like a projector, essentially.
But it's a projector in the way that the queens will know it's true. It's not, like whatever. It's like a truth-telling device. Yeah. So the queens will know that whatever they see from this is true. So they essentially have to break in to her family's like residence and steal this thing. So here we go. We're off to the races. And he's like, we're going to go down as a group. We're going to do this. Feyre has more questions. She asks Rhys, like, what is up with Moore's dad? Like, why is he a piece of shit? Why does everyone hate him? What's this story? And we hear, this is where we learn that when Moore's from the Court of Nightmares, and when she was 17, she was super powerful, and her family basically sold her off, like, to be someone's wife.
Yeah.
And that someone is Eris. Eris is a prince of the Autumn Court, a.k.a. Lucian's brother.
Yes.
And she didn't want to go. She didn't want to be his wife. And she begs Rhys to save her. But Rhys is not the High Lord at this point. His dad is still alive. Yeah. And there's really not much he can do. And it doesn't matter, even though everyone knows that this bitch is powerful.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. No one is helping her. And she takes a little trip, like, before she's supposed to be married, and she goes to see Rhys at his Illyrian war camp. And she gets the bright idea right then and there. She's going to bone Cassian to lose her virginity, so she won't be eligible to marry this High Lord. And that plan, unsurprisingly, really backfires on her, because she does it, and her family is real pissed about it, and Eris won't marry her, and her family nails a note into her stomach.
Yep.
Like, with an actual hammer and a nail.
After they had already, like, beaten the shit out of her.
They beat her, they nail... Yes, and they leave her, like, at the border of the Autumn Court, and the nail says... The letter says with the nail, like, hey, Eris, she's your problem now. And Eris is like, actually, she's not. And everyone just leaves her to die in the woods. Yeah. Until Azrael finds her and saves her.
Yeah.
So this should answer some questions for Feyre about this dynamic, right? Like, it's a fucked up dynamic, but they've all seemingly overcome it, but there's a lot of shit going on there.
Right.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I don't buy any of that story.
Okay.
I don't buy any of it. I have a lot of theories about it.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have a lot of theories about it. Do you think it's true?
I never thought about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
took it for what it was.
Because as you'll go, you'll realize, like, Eris gets more...
Well, okay, so I'm at that point.
And he keeps
Where
saying,
you
like,
see, like...
he says over and over again through the series, like, there's things that you don't know. And I feel as though some people have things to say that they're not allowed to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I like more, but I don't trust her at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I am dying to know that full story, because they've made a point of not actually telling it. And there's a lot of other people who are like, yeah, there's shit there that, like,
Yeah.
we're not allowed to say.
Yeah.
So I'm dying to know. And I think Eris is going to get a redemption arc.
Okay.
So stay tuned.
Here's to hoping.
Let's see if I'm right. Before they go on this adventure to the Court of Nightmares, Reese is like, listen, I'm having second thoughts. I don't think you should come with us. And she's like, but why not? And he's like, because I'm going to have to be my bad man persona, and I'm going to have to do some real fucked up shit to you if you come. And she's like, I don't care. I'm ready to go. And he's like, I don't
think you understand.
Yeah, and he's like, you just started to trust me, and I don't want you to see this version of myself that I have to be. Because remember, the people in the Court of Nightmares don't even know his real...
Right. They don't even know about Valaris.
They don't know... Right. They just know, like, he's supposed to be a scary motherfucker. So he doesn't... The only people who know his true self are his friends and the people in Valaris. Like, everyone else. So he's like, I don't think that this is a great idea. And she is super insistent. She wears him down. And off they go. And Moore helps her get dressed, so she looks super hot, but, like, super slutty. This bitch is naked, right?
Yeah.
And off they go, and as they're flying to the Court of Nightmares, they get attacked. They get, like, attacked by... What are the arrows that could kill?
Oh, the ash arrows.
Arrows. So they are dodging arrows in the air. It's a full-blown attack. They have to land. Nobody knows. They can't find who's attacking them. Feyre is like, no, I'm staying. Because Reese is like, no, send her back. And she's like, no, I'm staying. They're looking around. They leave the woods not knowing who attacked them. They get to... He's like, we have an hour for this meeting. So they roll up to the meeting, and... bless, because Reese essentially presents Feyre as his whore. Like, what he was to Amarantha. Like, that's how it's presented. And he does everything short of, like, penetrating her sitting on the throne.
Yes.
And the whole court is there, right? So, like, everyone comes because the king is coming, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So you have to all show up. And he is just, like, feeling her up in front of everyone. And this bitch is
loving it.
Absolutely loving it. And it's supposed to be a distraction, right? So they're supposed to be the distraction so Azrael can go find the orb that they need to show the witches or the queens everything that they need. But Feyre is, oh my gosh, she's on top of the world. It's her best day. And her and Reese are having a ball. Moore's dad is there. He's just as much a piece of shit as, like, we've expected him to be. I mean, he's an absolute dickhead.
Yeah.
And Feyre's like, is he faking it? And it's like, no one's faking it. You two just want a bone. And they are having, it is, like, absolutely out of control. And Feyre is 10 out of 10. Best day. It's her best day. And the ruse is finally up. And, Azrael comes back. He's like, I got this. I got it. Like, motioning to him. And they go to leave. And as she's walking by Moore's dad, he calls her a whore.
Yeah.
And Reese has real big dick energy and loses his shit. He's still, like, sitting on the throne, and, like, he doesn't have to lift a finger. That's how powerful he is.
Yeah.
And he lashes out.
Mm-hmm.
And he breaks this man's arm. And he tells him, if you go to a doctor to set this arm, I'm going to fucking kill you. Heard? And the dad is like, okay. Like, I mean, he's a savage.
Yeah.
He's an absolute savage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they finally leave. They get back to the house, and Reese is basically beside himself, right? That this man has called her a whore. And Feyre doesn't really care.
Couldn't care less.
Right. Which, like, I'm with her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you played the part. You did what you had to do.
I knew what I was walking into.
But clearly, you gotta read the room because Reese is sensitive about being a whore. And
he's got feelings.
He does. He
so
does.
Many feelings.
Yeah, it does. And somehow, stupid freaking Feyre turns this entire conversation into an argument and turns Rhys not wanting people to slut shame her into him being as controlling as Tamlin. Riddle me this, Feyre. How'd we get here?
She's the worst.
She's not the worst, but like she is tone deaf. She is tone deaf. She's basically saying you're as crazy as Tam Tam. And he was like, because I don't want people to call you a whore. Like, what the fuck? And then he's like, I would kill anyone. Do you understand? I would kill anyone who said anything bad about you. It's like, we understand. She doesn't really understand yet.
No.
And then he's kind of had enough. He's like, Feyre, what do you want? And she's like, unclear. And he's like, okay, well, you got to figure your shit out. Like, he's had it. He deserves to have had it.
Yes, 100%.
And this bitch, she tells him, move that microphone closer to you, because she has the absolute unmitigated gall and audacity to tell him in the world's most unwarranted low blow, if you showed your real self to your friends, they wouldn't like you.
What a fucking bitch.
She played on every insecurity this man has had after he's done everything for her. And it's like, Feyre, what were you just thinking right now?
Idiot.
And immediately she realizes, like, I've gone too far.
Too far.
Right. And he is like, okay. And he leaves. And he doesn't come back. We have days of him not being there. And when she asks, it's like, oh, he's out. Because now he's out looking for who tried to kill them, with the arrows. And Amren's like, listen, Amren tells her, he's out searching, but just so you know, we realize that whoever's looking for you can track his power. So he can't really winnow. He can't, like, anytime he uses magic, they know that it's going. So he can only fly. And it's like, oh, shit, like, what's happening here? And she realizes, finally, that she, like, loves him. And she's like, well, maybe we could be something. But her whole fucking shtick through this entire thing is that she feels like a whore. So she's projecting, because she feels like a whore, because she thinks that she's betraying Tamlin, when it's like, Tamlin was abusive and whatever. But in her thing, it's like, it's been 2 months, and in Fae time, that's like 5 minutes. That's her. And it's like, girl, nobody cares. Like, nobody cares.
No.
So she realizes, maybe I could have something with Rhys. And this bitch is trying to write him letters with their super secret, like, invisible notepad. And he is
not having
her.
it.
He's not answering her. And he absolutely ghosts her. And you know what? Good for him.
Yes. Team Rhys all the way, baby.
Team Rhys till the end of time. Team Rhys till the absolute end of time. And days go by. She's losing her shit. And now she doesn't even know what it is, but it's Starfall. She's like, what's Starfall? And that is, it's a festival that essentially is only celebrated there because they're the only court that can see it. And it's...
You don't know.
No, I do know, because it looks like stars, but it's not, but I'll get there. Basically, everyone turns off all their lights and we watch, like, this, like, crazy star show. So as she's getting ready, she hears about this. She's, like, wondering, is he going to come? She's, like, putting on a super hot dress. And then she starts pestering more about her sexual history with Cassian and Azrael again.
As one does.
Right. And Rhys eventually shows up. And she apologizes. In my opinion, it's not enough, but whatever.
Definitely not enough.
They flirt more. They have more trauma bonding. Now, here's the uncomfortable part. It's not actually stars. They're spirits, right? That's what we learned. They're not actually stars. They're spirits that are flying through the sky, and it's less and less every year, which is great. It's like a lovely thing until one of them splatters on Feyre's face. And one of them then splatters on Rhys's face, which would all be really well and cute, except for the fact that this is the moment in which she paints on him with the splattered spirits. It's the... And I'm gonna tell, I was picturing finger painting before this. I was.
And this just solidified it.
She's like painting, and it's like, this is so gag worthy. I want to pass away. And then she paints
the anger on your face.
She paints on him with splattered spirit starlight. Like, what are any of us doing? And they, whatever, so gag, but they dance the rest of the night away with their friends, and they have the greatest night, and then he absolutely shuts her down with a forehead kiss instead of, like, a makeout, and, like, she thinks they're gonna bone, and he's like, give me your temple.
A little tap tap.
Right, a little, yeah, exactly. I mean, a forehead kiss is the best, but, like, I mean, yeah, she thinks she's about to get it. So, the next day they're off because everyone knew that they have to move to an Illyrian camp. They're going to an Illyrian war camp because they can track Reese's magic. So he feels like the safest place for them is to all go into one of these fucking horrible camps that they all grew up in. They roll up, and we learn that they meet this. So the camp that they go to is run by this guy, Devlin, and he's a dick. And we find out right off the bat that Reese and Cassian have, like, a mandate for lady fighters, right? Like, they're like, have you been training the girls? And it's obviously a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of pushback. They're trying to fight for women to not only be able to, like, Reese right away, thank God, outlawed the wing clipping, which we learned about previously. But there's, and this guy, this dick Devlin, is, like, the most progressive of all the warlords. Right. And he still doesn't want these girls to, like, learn how to fight. So there's obviously, he's a dick, but we find out that he's the least dicky of all the dicks. Yeah. So Reese is like, we don't want to move from here because the rest of them are real assholes. Like, we gotta make ourselves at home. And we get a real hot moment. We get a real hot she's mine moment from Reese when this guy's trying to talk to Feyre, and he's like, but what's cool is Reese is like, she'll actually kill you. She's mine and she'll kill you. He doesn't say, like, I'll kill you. He's like, this bitch will. And it's like, yes. Yeah. Yes. That's why we stand you. And yeah, this is where they're going to live, and it's going to suck. And we know in the she's mine moment that we're getting closer to some shit really.
So close.
Yeah. Close. So, Reese takes Feyre out to train into the middle of the woods because she doesn't know about all these powers. So we have to, like, train her in, like, the middle of nowhere all the time. And we learn that while Devlin is an absolute dickhead, he is the one who raised them, essentially. Like, he was in charge of this camp while they were all coming up. And he let them take the blood rite, which Feyre's like, what's the blood rite? It's essentially, like, an Illyrian rite of passage where you can't use magic or weapons. It's like the Hunger Games for all of these savage warriors. And they fight to the death, and they drop them on this mountain. Anyone who survives gets to be an Illyrian. But if you make it to the top, it's, like, super rare. So him and Cassian and Azriel, they separate them all because they knew that they were this, like, powerful trio. And they death fight their way, and they all make it. And they reach the summit. And, like, they're the best family. They're brothers. They found each other through the death camp trial, whatever the fuck it was, and you're just like, oh, I love you all so much. And then because Feyre's a buzzkill, why not ask now, like, after that, like, so this bitch asks to be a buzzkill. She asks Reese how he knows Tamlin. I don't know what made this come up, but this is what she chooses to ask. And we find out right here that Reese befriended Tamlin because he felt sorry for him because he had a shit family. Everyone has a shit family in this entire book. Literally everyone has a shit family.
Everyone.
So nobody, like Cassian and Azriel and even Reese's family were like, this is a bad idea. Like, don't be friends with this kid. And he was like, hey, he seems pretty decent for, like, a High Lord's kid. And his brothers hate him because everyone knew he was going to be the next in line. He feels sorry for him, so he befriends him, and they see each other at, like, social events and shit like that. Tamlin's family is his dad is, like, super pissed he's friends with Reese and doesn't trust him and thinks that there's going to be a power struggle. This is so fucked up. So because Tamlin's family was scared of Reese, Tamlin, his dad, and his brother, like, wait for Reese's mom and sister when they're supposed to be meeting Reese, and they ambush them and kill them.
Yes.
And the only reason that they knew where Reese's mom and sister were going to be is because Tamlin was friends with Reese, and Reese just said, like, oh yeah, they're going to be, like, walking on this path to meet me. And Reese doesn't meet them. He's supposed to meet them, and he doesn't because he gets, like, tied up with work. And Tamlin uses that information to let his family murder them. It is crazy.
Yeah.
They don't just murder them. They behead them and, like, ship their heads to, like, an Illyrian camp. It is absolutely wild. And, like, in Reese's head, they take their wings, and he's like, you've seen their wings, like, in the office, but they actually weren't there. But, like, it is absolutely... This is craziness. So then Reese is like, yeah, well, I didn't tell you this before, but, like, I actually went with my dad to kill... Like, because he had let Feyre believe previously that his dad killed Tamlin's family. He doesn't tell Feyre until this moment, like, by the way, I went
with them. Yeah.
Right. So him and his dad, like, roll up on this manor and start murdering the shit out of everyone. They kill the brothers. They kill his dad. But killing his mom wasn't part of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Reese had made his dad promise that they were going to leave his mom be. And the dad goes rogue and kills Tamlin's mom. And Reese is, like, had it at that point. And then the dad gets to Tamlin's room and he was like, enough. It's enough killing. And the dad's like, fuck you, I'm killing the last kid. Tamlin comes out of the room. Reese steps in to save him. And Tamlin kills Reese's dad. Like, in that... This is crazy.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden you have these two, like, teenagers, essentially. I'm calling them teenagers because that's what they are in my head. And everyone's dead. And Tamlin looks at Reese and they're in this murder scene. And they realize that they're both... They just both became High Lord.
Yeah.
In this coming of age moment where they've killed each other's families. It is absolutely crazy. And Feyre's like, Tamlin never told me any of this. And Reese is like, oh, I'm so surprised. He's great and honest. Like, I don't understand. And she's like, well, why didn't you tell me? And he's like,
fucking course.
And he said, because I didn't want this to be the deciding... Like, I want you to make your own decisions. Like, I didn't want this to be the deciding factor. But hold on, everyone. Because the only thing, for everything that we just talked about right here, what does Feyre take from this?
What does she take from it?
She wants to paint again.
And this, my friend, is where we end. Part 2.
Part 2. I want everyone to think about that because death, betrayal, loss. And what does Feyre do? She makes it
about her
herself
fucking painting.
and her art.
So annoying. She's so annoying.
I can't talk anymore. We have to do part 3 another day.
So annoying. We gotta get you some of those steamers that all the guys use at work.
I know. I do need that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to do vocal warm-ups and warm-downs?
Yeah, probably. As she finishes her bourbon. Careful.
Oh, man.
What a way to end.
I know.
What a way to end part 2.
The book, the whole series should end right there. Feyre's found her art again.
And world peace.
Mm-hmm. World peace is right.
She's so insufferable.
I don't think she is, but I hear you. I hear you.
I can see it. I don't agree with it, but I can see
100%,
it.
100%. And there's a lot left to go.
There's still so much left.
Yeah.
So much left. Rose was right. There are just like a lot of little details in this one.
Yeah.
She agreed with the 3-parter.
It is. It's the best one.
She would agree with you.
The best. It is the best one.
And you're saying her other books are nothing like this? This is the worst series, you're saying? Of hers?
It's my least favorite.
That's what I meant.
But it's the gateway drug. Everyone should read this series first.
Yeah. It's easier.
It's an absolute gateway drug. It's fun. It's light. It's romanticy. It's, you know what I mean? It's...
Yeah.
Oh, it's like
the stakes are high, but they're not that high.
Absolutely, it's a cartoon. Throne of Glass will gut your soul.
I'll never forget.
In the best way possible.
I'll never forget seeing the OG A Court of Thorns and Roses in your car, and you looked at me and you said, Kelly, Kelly told me I had to read this.
Right.
I'm doing it for Kelly.
I was doing it.
And then with every Amazon box and every book that came through.
I know.
And this is why we're here today,
mental
folks.
Illness. That's why we're here
Thank you,
today.
Kelly.
Yep. Thank you, Kelly. Gals.
Shout out to the one doing the Lord's work over here.
Right. Right. But yeah, everyone should read this one first. And then this.
When you're mentally, emotionally prepared for it.
You can't be. That's the problem. You can't be mentally or emotionally prepared for it. You just can't. It's not possible.
Okay.
It's not possible.
It's not
The next
possible.
book in that series is
Perfection, you said.
literary masterpiece.
Literary masterpiece. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
We started on Crescent City. Talk about that at a later date.
Perfect little send-off for this episode.
Book series we'll never cover here because they mean too much to me to be funny.
A book series that gets covered by me and Rose.
We'll see. Read it and tell me if you think they're entertaining.
Oh, she slammed down her computer,
I
folks.
slammed down my laptop.
All right, well, tune in next week for
Part 16.
part 18. And, yeah, peace out, homies.
Peace out, homies.